Catwoman is not like the others. I'll show you how to clip Batman and Robin's wings. I will prevail.
You will notice that the entrance is here, the exit here.
Julie Newmar dazzled as the original Catwoman, blending elegance, wit, and danger in a way that left audiences spellbound. But behind the scenes of the hit 1960s Batman TV show, something unexpected changed the course of her legendary run. What could force a star at the height of her fame to step away from such an iconic role? Was it a twist of fate, a personal choice, or something more surprising? Join us as we uncover the real story behind why Gotham's original feline femme fatale was replaced, and what it meant for the character's future. The first Catwoman. Julie Newmar was born Julia Cheline Newmeyer in Los Angeles, California. The daughter of a professional football player and a Ziegfeld Follies dancer, Newmar inherited both athleticism and artistic flair. She excelled academically, attending UCLA where she studied classical piano, philosophy, and French. But it was her talent for dance that launched her career. Newmar became a prima ballerina with the Los Angeles Opera and toured internationally, captivating audiences with her statuesque figure and fluid movements. By the early 1950s, she had transitioned into film and theater, earning attention for her striking beauty and physical grace in projects like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and on Broadway in Silk Stockings and The Marriage Go Round. Her unique combination of elegance, wit, and physicality made her the perfect choice when producers of the 1960s Batman TV series sought an actress to embody Catwoman. Introduced in the first season's two-part story, The Perfect Crime and Better Luck Next Time, Newmar's Catwoman was unlike anything audiences had seen before. She brought the character to life with a distinctive blend of charm and menace, matching Batman's intellect and resourcefulness, rather than relying on brute force. Her performance elevated Catwoman from a comic book villainess into a sophisticated and multi-dimensional figure who challenged both Batman and the conventions of female roles on television. Weaving her dancing into the fabric of the character, Newmar transformed her into a new creature with quite subtle but effective strokes. Her every movement as Catwoman was deliberate, sleek, and feline-like, adding mystery to her character. It was her embodiment of grace and control that made Catwoman hypnotic and helped to define the show in terms of whole aestheticity. Not only were the viewers hooked into Catwoman's schemes, but they also savored being around Newmar's presence. The interpretation gave dimension to a role that might otherwise have been two-dimensional, laying the groundwork for what was to become decades of performance for the character. But at the same time, now having a Catwoman on television, Newmar also revitalized the character within the larger Batman mythology. Catwoman had not had much presence in the comics up to that point, but the interpretation was confident, snappy, and complicated enough to send writers inspired to get the character back into the fold and reimagine her. Newmar's contribution has also set the precedent by which future Catwomen in different media would measure up to if they were looking to earn the right to say they were part of the Batman legacy. And, of course, keep her an integral, dynamic element of that legacy. Her entrance was unforgettable, but how she outshined Gotham's other villains might surprise you. An enduring icon, Julie Newmar's Catwoman transcended the 1960s Batman TV series to become one of the most influential portrayals of a female character in superhero history. In just 12 episodes, she crafted a version of Catwoman that forever altered the character's identity in comics, television, and film. Before Newmar stepped into the role, Catwoman had been largely absent from DC Comics for much of the 1950s, a casualty of the era's moral panic over comic book content. Newmar's performance, bold, witty, and magnetic, sparked a renewed interest in the character, helping to re-establish Catwoman as a central figure in Batman's world and inspiring writers to explore her complexity in fresh ways. Visually, Newmar's Catwoman set the standard for the character's design across multiple media. The black cat suit, sleek and form-fitting, became a symbol of Catwoman's blend of elegance and danger. This look proved so iconic that it became a template for future adaptations, from comics to film to merchandise. The Smithsonian Institution's preservation of Newmar's original costume underscores its cultural significance, while the enduring popularity of Catwoman-themed collectibles, including action figures, posters, and costumes modeled after Newmar's version, reflects the lasting power of her image. Her Catwoman didn't just define a style. It helped cement Catwoman as one of the most marketable and recognizable characters in the Batman franchise. Every future actress who would perform the character of Catwoman would be marked differently by the touch of Newmar. Thus, what she had so successfully made became the framework for all of these actresses following her: Michelle Pfeiffer, Anne Hathaway, and Zoe Kravitz. It was made clear by her portrayal that Catwoman could be, at one time, an equal oppressor and morally ambiguous, all placed up against the old-fashioned definitions of good and evil. This such duality would become part of the canon design for Catwoman in film, animation, and video games, a mold that had been set in the making of the role and through which she would keep moving audiences as villain and anti-hero. More than 50 years later, Julie Newmar's Catwoman remains a figure, a symbol not only in superhero lore, but in the wider discourse of powerful, complicated women. This character became the canon through which the argument could be sustained that a woman was no less interesting or complex, or able to create more impact than any male. In that spirit, it was Newmar's Catwoman that opened the door to telling deeper stories about women within comics and outside of them, since the synthesis of charm, intellect, and complicated motivations really made her a symbol for generations. Julie Newmar's scheduling conflict. Julie Newmar's departure from Batman at the height of her popularity was not due to any dissatisfaction with the role, but rather the realities of balancing multiple high-profile projects. As the series prepared for its third season, Newmar had already committed to McKenna's Gold, a major Hollywood production that promised a new challenge and the chance to work alongside cinema legends like Gregory Peck and Omar Sharif. The demands of filming the sprawling Western, with its extended shooting schedule and location work, made it impossible for Newmar to continue playing Catwoman, as the two productions' timelines simply could not be reconciled. Newmar's decision to star in McKenna's Gold was a serious one, given her desire to further develop her career away from television. She felt that any prolonged association with a character might lead towards the dreaded typecasting, a common peril for actors working in serialized television at the time. By starring in a major motion picture, Newmar intended to display her flexibility and incertitude toward parts that may not present themselves to her further down the road, if heavily associated with one character, however adored that character might have been. This decision, in many respects, symbolizes her clear vision and determination to carve a niche for herself within Hollywood on her own agenda. The film McKenna's Gold was introduced in the year 1969, which was anticipated to be an involving epic in action, adventure, and star power. Newmar's role wasn't a leading character, but it considered much more in the way of major industry females. It was a public display of this particular actor in a genre that was very different from the camp world of Batman. It stood in contrast not only to the stylized gaudiness of the colorful universe that was Gotham City, but also to the ambitious concern that immediately filled that project. She could then demonstrate that she was a writer who would prove herself capable of working with vastly different forms within that art. Even though the film did not turn out to be the critical or commercial success its producers had hoped for, it remains an important chapter in Newmar's career. In the final consideration on the question of Newmar's exit, it is both a challenge and an opportunity for the Batman production team. It would make the people behind the show reimagine Catwoman through new actors. At the same time, as it allowed Newmar to quit the role at a very high point, his version of the character was firmly imprinted in the pop culture mind. Fans still associate Newmar with Catwoman long after she retired from the role, which says much about how relatable her performance was. With this break to follow other creative pursuits, Newmar made sure her time as Catwoman would live on as legendary. not stretched out. Catwoman's big screen reinvention. The 1966 Batman feature film was designed to capitalize on the immense popularity of the first season of the television series. The film provided fans with a rare opportunity to see Batman and Robin take on multiple villains simultaneously on the big screen, uniting Joker, Penguin, Riddler, and Catwoman in a high-stakes plot. While most of the original cast transitioned smoothly from the small screen to the movie, the role of Catwoman presented an unexpected challenge. Julie Newmar, who had become synonymous with the character, was unable to join the production due to prior commitments, which led to the casting of Lee Meriwether in the iconic role. Meriwether approached Catwoman with a fresh interpretation that reflected her own strengths as an actress. Where Newmar's Catwoman was playful and teasing, Meriwether's portrayal highlighted the character's sophistication and strategic mind. This version of Catwoman was depicted as a meticulous planner, seamlessly integrating into the alliance of villains and helping to drive the group's complex schemes. Meriwether's performance added a sense of precision and control, making her Catwoman a credible and dangerous threat in a story that relied heavily on the villain's coordination and teamwork. One of the most interesting things about Meriwether's Catwoman is Miss Kitka, an alter ego that she clothed upon Bruce Wayne in her little schemes to get ahead in the villain's plan. This duality enabled Meriwether to explore a variety of different facets for a Catwoman that is cunning and adaptable. As Miss Kitka, she exuded charm and warmth, playing with Bruce Wayne's emotions, while Catwoman was calculating and ruthless. These contrasting characters added tension to the movie plot and gave audiences a villain of many layers unseen until that time in the series. Lee Meriwether may have played Catwoman solely for the film, but she undeniably made a contributing impact on the franchise. The movie's successes brought her brand of Catwoman characters before audiences worldwide, and her version of Catwoman, one of grace and poise, was much too fitting in the colorful world of the show. Meriwether's performance allowed the character to be really rethought and re-envisioned while still holding on to its core appeal. It demonstrated that variations of Catwoman could be explored without ruining her aura and mystique. EarthKits' iconic feline turn. When Julie Newmar's scheduling conflict removed her from the third season of Batman, the producers faced a significant casting challenge, finding an actress who could bring something fresh to the role of Catwoman while maintaining the character's allure and power. They chose Eartha Kitt, an established performer with a remarkable voice, magnetic stage presence, and bold personality. Kitt's casting was notable not just for her talent, but because it marked a groundbreaking moment in television history. She became one of the first Black actresses to portray a major comic book character on a mainstream primetime series. Eartha Kitt approached the role with a fierceness and intensity that distinguished her from her predecessors. Where Julie Newmar's Catwoman often employed flirtation and playful charm to confound Batman, Kitt's Catwoman exuded danger and authority. The romantic subtext that had once defined Catwoman's relationship with Batman was largely set aside during Kitt's tenure, reflecting both her creative interpretation and the constraints of the racially charged social climate of the time. Yet this change gave Kitt the freedom to emphasize Catwoman's cunning, making her a more unpredictable and formidable adversary. The dramatic element brought into Catwoman's character by Kitt perfectly matched with the heightened stylization of Batman's third season. Her signature purring sound, her dramatic vocal delivery, along with those expressive movements infused the character with fresh vitality. She personified Catwoman's independence and ambition in a way that could allow the villain without a romantic entanglement or any element of being a traditional femme fatale to thrive. Kitt's Catwoman acted on her own terms and reflected in her schemes an intelligence so sharp that they kept Batman and Robin always on the defensive. Although in fewer episodes, Kitt would have a mark on the history of Catwoman that few could ever underestimate. She would redefine the role in representation and stretch its global potential in manners that echoed the future incarnations of the character. Kit showed that Catwoman could further her role from flirtation to embody a figure of empowerment and strength. Her portrayal shifted the expectation of the public, and so every actress playing Catsuit afterward could have her own stamp on this role. Kit's stint as Catwoman will always be remembered in superhero lore, and also in the broader history of television itself. Yet, behind every brilliant Catwoman was a production team racing against time to keep Gotham's villainess on screen. Navigating casting challenges. Recasting Catwoman during the run of Batman highlighted the unpredictable and often complex realities of 1960s television production. With a fast-paced shooting schedule and the need to keep up with audience demand, producers had little time or flexibility when actors became unavailable. This made the task of replacing a popular, established performer particularly daunting. The team had to find replacements who could immediately step into high-profile roles without derailing the show's momentum. In the case of Catwoman, the producers' efforts reflected both creative problem-solving and the pressures of keeping a hit series on track. Each new casting decision for Catwoman required balancing the familiar with the new. Producers had to ensure that the character retained her allure and danger while giving each actress space to interpret the role in a way that felt authentic. Unlike recasting minor roles, replacing Catwoman meant addressing audience expectations for one of Batman's most compelling and visually striking adversaries. This delicate balancing act forced the creative team to think strategically about how to preserve the character's essential appeal while also allowing the show to evolve with each new portrayal. The changes in cast were a signal to the collaborative nature of the television production that actors, writers, directors, and producers all had to work together so that continuity could be maintained. The casting of a new Catwoman had consequences beyond the scenes she appeared in. It altered the interplay with various characters and shifted storylines while sometimes requiring changes to tone or dialogue. The changes were not always smooth, but they showed the flexibility of the production team to face hurdles and still ensure the show remained entertaining. In the end, the many recastings of Catwoman, without the character losing substance, speak of the flexibility of both character and series. Indeed, it showed that iconic characters could withstand changes in casting and still resonate with viewers. Recasting, albeit not an easy task, would end up being an enrichment for Batman because adaptation has shown that, when done thoughtfully, it can keep a beloved character dynamic and relevant. All that matters is who fits into the catsuit. How 3 Catwomen shaped history. The role of Catwoman during the 1960s Batman series evolved with each actress who took on the part, and together, Julie Newmar, Lee Meriwether, and EarthKits created a rich, layered legacy for the character. Julie Newmar, as the first Catwoman of the television era, established a playful yet formidable template. Her portrayal blended mischievous humor, charm, and a graceful physicality that made Catwoman a memorable and complex foe for Batman. Newmar's performance showed that a female villain could command respect, captivate audiences, and add emotional nuance to the hero's journey. Her Catwoman wasn't simply a criminal, she was a witty strategist who challenged Batman on intellectual and emotional levels. When Lee Meriwether stepped into the role of Batman the movie, she brought a more refined, calculating dimension to the character. Meriwether's Catwoman displayed poise and elegance that aligned perfectly with the film's heightened sense of drama and international intrigue. By portraying both Catwoman and her alias, Meriwether demonstrated the character's adaptability and skill at deception. Her version of Catwoman emphasized meticulous planning and sophistication, presenting a villain who could manipulate her enemies with charm as effectively as with direct confrontation. Though her time in the role was brief, Meriwether contributed an important variation on the character, one that highlighted Catwoman's ability to operate in multiple spheres. It was a brilliant reinvention of Kit in Catwoman, and as much a reflection of Kit's own style as the changed social dynamics in late 1960s America. Fierce, flinty, and unapologetically powerful, Kit's version of Catwoman stripped much of the flirty seduction from earlier versions and focused instead on Catwoman's independence and ambition. With her distinctively beautiful voice and theatrical presence, as well as with her precise line readings, Kit intensified Catwoman's danger and unpredictability as an opponent. Kit would far surpass expectation and transform the character's identity from romantic dalliances, proposing that Catwoman's lure could be in strength, intelligence, and daring. These three versions serve as a testimony to Catwoman's ever-changing character and made her perhaps the most durable, breezy, and adaptable character in all of Batman's history. Each of the portrayals brought with it different nuances of interpretation for the character, so future interpretations could draw from them. Newmar's playfully fun, Merryweather's supple slinkiness, and Kit's almost anarchical freedom have all suggested that Catwoman might very well have her transformative spells without losing her eternal allure. Together, they simply qualified Catwoman for a very storied life in the annals of Batman history, giving rise to innumerable reinventions of herself and enshrining her into quietly lived modern life. Newmar's career. Beyond Batman, Julie Newmar's career before and after Batman reflects a remarkable versatility that defied the limitations often placed on actresses of her era. Long before she became famous for her role as Catwoman, Newmar had already achieved success as a dancer and stage performer. She began as a ballerina with the Los Angeles Opera and soon caught the attention of Hollywood studios with her statuesque beauty and fluid grace. Roles in films like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, 1954, and Little Abner, 1959, showcased her presence and skill, earning her recognition even in supporting parts. On Broadway, she brought sensuality and charm to productions like Silk Stockings and The Marriage Go-Round, displaying a gift for balancing allure with sophistication. After her time on Batman, Newmar was determined to avoid being confined to typecasting as a villain or seductress. She pursued diverse projects across film, television, and theater, expanding her artistic range. Her credits during this period included appearances in McKenna's Gold, 1969, and The Maltese Bippy, 1969, as well as guest roles on a wide variety of television programs from Star Trek to Columbo to Bewitched. She moved fluidly between genres, tackling everything from science fiction to westerns to comedies. Later in her career, she embraced voice acting, lending her talents to animated projects like Batman, Return of the Caped Crusaders, 2016, and Batman vs. Two-Face, 2017, which allowed her to revisit and celebrate her legacy. While performing, Newmar used to show great business skills and creativity as well. In the 70s, she patented Nudemar, a woman's and almost invisible contoured shaper concept that really expressed Newmar's innovation and knowledge of the fashion world. Newmar also became an able real estate investor by acquiring very valuable properties in Los Angeles, which have helped her achieve financial security and independence at a time when many actresses suffer loss of opportunities as they grow old. Such entrepreneurial ventures of Newmar were a reflection of the same intelligence and foresight as had governed her career choices in entertainment. Newmar just remains relevant to modernism. She knew how to change, survive, and opportuning herself into roles that were not entirely defined by one. Some projects she involved herself with in celebration of her legacy included Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Bert, 2003, while she continued to advocate for causes that interested her, like rights for the LGBTQ population. Now, well into 90s, Newmar doesn't only remain a subject of admiration for her portrayal of Catwoman, but also as an artist, innovator, and advocate. The life and career of an individual that manifests resilience and reinvention and builds one's own path. Julie Newmar teases the possibility. Julie Newmar's legacy as Catwoman may be firmly cemented in pop culture, but the actress herself has hinted that her story on screen might not be entirely over. In a 2017 interview, Newmar playfully teased the possibility of a comeback, provided the role was the right fit. With characteristic humor and candor, she quipped about preferring a part that allowed her to sit rather than run, and insisted on good lighting, a nod to both her sense of fun and her understanding of the demands of the camera. Her remarks left fans hopeful, imagining what kind of project could tempt the original Catwoman back into the spotlight. Newmar's openness to a grand return speaks to her enduring creative spirit. Even as she has largely stepped away from acting, she hasn't lost her spark for storytelling or performance. Her comments reveal an artist still engaged with the idea of transformation, willing to step into a new character if it offered the right challenge or delight. It's a reminder that for Newmar, the allure of acting has always been about more than fame. It's about connection, expression, and fun. Beyond acting, she has directed and owns many interests in the fields of communication and creativity into the art of writing. Newmar minces no words about her development and publications, which include short stories, magazine articles, and what she calls a bi-monthly memoir, an ongoing venue for her to muse about her life, share insights, and stay in touch with fans in a very personal way. Through her writing, Newmar works, in essence, to restore her own life narrative, imparting wisdom and humorous tales along with glimpses into the every life of a woman who has seen and shaped so much in entertainment history. Newmar's world revolves around family, especially so for her son, John Jules Smith, an artist in his own right. Newmar often speaks of the power of love and how it has blessed her life infinitely more than any role ever could. Her other great strength is that, after being a mother, she actually feels empathy for yet another. She now uses this particular strength every day. On the page or when speaking, Julie Newmar carries with her the grace and generosity of so many. Still captivating, still inspiring, still our goddess to love. Newmar's musings about a potential return especially resonate because they tap into a larger cultural fascination with aging legacy performers reclaiming the spotlight late in life. These last few years have had audiences quite feverishly welcoming such icons as Angela Lansbury, appearing in Mary Poppins Returns, and Judi Dench in Cats, making it very clear that there is a thirst for those old recognizable faces in new settings. Newmar herself made reference to this kind of phenomenon in a 2017 Fox News interview, when she said, "Audience remember, really, and they just want to see that face one more time." This not only helped recognize her own significance to fans, but also the way the past-age viewers have much stronger emotional links with such television icons. But just when fans thought Newmar's Catwoman legacy had quieted, she gave them something unexpected to talk about. Newmar's rare appearance at 91, Julie Newmar, forever remembered as the original Catwoman of the 1960s Batman TV series, made a rare public appearance in Los Angeles on May 15, 2025. At 91 years old, Newmar was spotted navigating the streets on a motorized scooter, dressed casually in gray sweatpants, fuzzy slippers, and a blue button-up shirt, topped with a wide-brimmed hat to shield her from the sun. The sighting offered fans a glimpse of the legendary actress who, despite stepping away from the spotlight in recent years, remains an enduring icon in popular culture. To many who knew her only in the sleek black catsuit of Catwoman, this humble and unassuming look was a stark contrast to her glamorous television image. Though Newmar no longer makes frequent public appearances, she has stayed somewhat connected to her fans through social media. On May 13th, she posted photos of her blossoming garden, sharing a bit of her personal world from her Los Angeles home. Earlier this month, she also posted a clip from Batman that featured one of her classic scenes opposite Adam West, reminding followers of the charisma that made her portrayal of Catwoman so unforgettable. In her post, she candidly admitted feeling depressed before reading fan comments that lifted her spirits. The overwhelming affection and admiration expressed by fans demonstrated the lasting impact of her performance decades after the show first aired. Almost all of Newmar's rarely attended public appearances and convention visits in the past few years have pointedly emphasized her legacy as Catwoman. For example, in June 2024, she put on simple cat ears for a few fans as she signed her name. And in 2017, she appeared at amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con and CatCon in clothing inspired by Catwoman, the character that she has always lovingly seen as her own. In interviews, Newmar has reflected on the importance of this role for her, saying that the costume of Catwoman and the witty scripts had allowed her to tell the story through her body. She also often acknowledges the producers, writers, and designers of the series for setting up the right situation that really made Catwoman and her portrayal be seen as timeless. Decades after his crime-fighting ventures, Newmar continued to bear importance to this character's legacy by voicing Catwoman in the animated films Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders, 2016, and Batman vs. Two-Face, 2017. Her association with the role is a pride for her, as fans will always suggest her Catwoman to be one of the most iconic performances ever. Since Newmar, other heavyweights such as EarthKits, Michelle Pfeiffer, Halle Berry, Anne Hathaway, and Zoe Kravitz all wore the catsuit, each marking her territory with a take on the character. Nevertheless, for a great many, Julie Newmar's Catwoman remains the gold standard, a testament to her lasting influence on the superhero storytelling paradigm. Most importantly, the 91-year-old Newmar now retains a strong connection with her fans in a somewhat similar manner. For her, aging has always been a gentle adversary, made a little more difficult by the old Hollywood perspective. In a 2023 Better Homes and Gardens interview, the actress was quoted as saying, "There's a freedom in age. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone anymore. You can just be." This understanding resonates with those who regard Newmar as more than a famous face in a catsuit. She represents resilience, authenticity, and self-acceptance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story behind the original Catwoman's replacement, be sure to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes secrets from classic TV and film. Don't stop here. Click on the next video on your screen to uncover even more untold stories from the world of Batman.